We're here in North Essex at Chapel Viaduct, the third largest brick-built building in the UK, a train passing overhead on a single track, 7 million bricks after Battersea Power Station and Stockport Viaduct. 32 great arches, 300 metres long across the valley, a symbol of the Industrial Revolution, built in 1849 and symbolising these great changes that shifted economies, cultures, households, whole countries, brought bad stuff, pollution, child labour, that we know about from the Victorian era, but changed everything. And in a sense, this is what we also need to do when thinking about the climate and nature recovery challenges to deal with these contemporary crises that we face now. Changes as big as this brick-built viaduct. Kind of easy to do it with engineering, more difficult to do with institutions and people. I'm chair of the Essex Climate Action Commission that was established in 2020, set up on a model developed in Leeds for place-based climate action commissions in cities and counties across the UK. There are 27 of them altogether, focusing upon what local institutions can do, ones with some resource, some identity, some sense of purpose, and could benefit from some connection. So this is a way of thinking that's not national or international level and not super local at village or hamlet or parish level. It's seeking to create linkages and connections across institutions with different purposes established within a county, the county of Essex, with 1.4 million people, the second longest coastline in the UK. What can we do? Well, the Climate Action Commission was established in 2020. I became chair in 2021. We have 35 commissioners working on a voluntary basis to help steer that work of the commission, support provided by a small secretariat at Essex County Council. And remarkable changes have happened in just this period of 5 years. 2021, we produced a report setting out challenges for the future, thinking about strategic challenges and opportunities that could bring early wins and successes. We set out 100 plus recommendations, and this, as commissioners, we felt was the right thing to do, but also kind of symbolic to say, this is a big agenda. It's so big that it's going to be greater than any individual's interests and capabilities, or any individual business or charity or public sector organisation. But coming together, we might be able to achieve them all. The idea was to present what's called a choice architecture. A kind of response diversity is another phrase that's used. Offer lots of options to people and institutions and let them choose which ones they feel they're interested in, capable of working on, can bring changes in their own kind of agency and capacity. And if there are things they disagree with, just leave them to one side, that's fine. Focus on this big agenda of a whole range of actions that need to work within the Climate Action Commission. So we work in 8 different areas on nature and green infrastructure, on energy and energy communities, on water and waste and transport, trying to create active transport and low pollution transport within the county, on thinking about planning buildings and how rules can be and guidance can be changed to advance the idea of low energy housing that's better for people. Thinking about the kinds of changes that can all add up to a circular economy, a green economy, a just economy, a transition to a more just future, and working with communities to do all of that. In 2024, I undertook a review of the impacts of the Climate Action Commission over the previous 4 years, and we documented 64 major impacts across the county. Some of them were strategies, bringing people together to think about the future. The local nature recovery strategy has been published this year after lots of really interesting work to look for connections for nature recovery across the county. The emergence of energy communities in a dozen places across the county where people are coming together to seek to increase generation of energy, reduce use of energy, and thirdly, start sharing energy amongst themselves, establishing in effect a kind of local grid, a way of helping the national grid, which is going to be under a bit of stress as it shifts towards an electricity economy and not a fossil fuel one. So what can local communities do? Well, energy communities in the county are doing really interesting work. A whole range of other impacts, projects on active transport, projects on water, on waste, the elimination now of the landfill, waste to landfill by 2030 in the county. Still seeking, still feeling that we can move towards a point where the emissions, the carbon emissions in the county are effectively zero, balanced with a bit of carbon sequestration into soils, in agriculture, trees, into marine environments. That's a way of kind of holding some carbon and cutting the rest. At least 80% of the current carbon footprint needs to be eliminated from our ways of living across the world. And we can only start here. So good impacts. Commissioners have been able to work in new ways across the county, helping people to establish different ways of working. There are two principles really. One is multifunctionality, that action in one area can lead to multiple benefits occurring in a whole range of different aspects of economies and cultures. So as we shift towards low energy, electricity-driven transport systems, one of the biggest areas is going to be reductions in air pollution. Air pollution causes tens of millions of deaths a year across the world, impacts people in cities and also in rural areas as the plume comes from cities like London to this remote part of North Essex. Air pollution can be as high as in the centre of London. So we benefit from restrictions to transport and encouragement towards electric vehicles in cities. So this is the kind of challenge. The multifunctionality, do one thing, lots of benefits. Secondly, the actions, the ideas driven by the Climate Action Commission, we're determined will have positive impacts on people's lives. Unless they do, the sale is difficult. The idea of saying, give your support to these things, we have to be able to demonstrate that ideas improve lives, that climate and nature recovery is good for people and nature and cultures and economies. We make those kind of links as we run through the process. So Climate Action Commission, first 5 years, encouraging, lots of work to do. It's showing that local action works. You'll find in the show notes a couple of links to blogs that I've written about the Climate Action Commission, recent ones, and another one on energy communities. Have a look at those if you want to see a few more details. So the Essex Climate Action Commission, another few years of work ahead, we hope, promoting the kinds of dramatic changes that we see here with this structure from 1849 in Chapel, and the hope that we can generate local action that helps to shift us towards regenerative economies and cultures.